You take the case of Tucker Carlson. He says that the Jews, or some Jews, he says, but the Jews, he says, they want to destroy the United States. That's what he says. They want to destroy it from within.
I think he's a little bit more careful about his language.
But,
But I do agree with you, and I do want to get to that.
Okay, so let me tell you. So you're going to answer me, and you of course should answer me. And there are many points he raised which I haven't addressed. But he says these Jews, they want a Jewish supremacist state in Israel, but they want to let all these immigrants into the United States, liberal Jews.
The Great Replacement.
Right.
Yeah.
So he says they want to destroy the U.S. from within. I'm thinking to myself, why would they want to destroy the U.S. from within? They control the United States. Why would they want to destroy it? According to you, they occupy, and which they do, they disproportionately occupy the positions of in industry, in culture, in everything, okay? That counts. So why would they want to destroy it? They don't want to destroy it. What they want was, they want a Jewish supremacist state in Israel because the Jews are the majority. And they want a liberal state here because Jews are just 2% of the population. They're hypocrites. It's not that they want to destroy the U.S., but they want, as a minority, they want to preserve the rights of a minority in a multicultural society like the United States. But
I also don't think that immigration is a negative thing in general, in the way that he presents it. So this is actually a really interesting point because I've heard your criticisms of some on the right. And the way that they are approaching the issue of Palestine, and some of them have even become thought leaders almost.
They are the thought leaders
on this issue, unfortunately. Well, I don't know if I completely agree with that assessment.
If you look at the top, look, this is an area where 10,000.
Look, I got a lot of people watching me too.
Yes, I'm aware of that, and I believe what Chairman Mao said: no investigation, no right to speak. I don't know the specifics. People have sent me some graphs and so forth, which show the top podcasters. The only one in the tier that I saw, and you were not on that tier.
No, I'm not. I'm not considered a podcaster. I'm a Twitch streamer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's another distinction I don't know. I'm telling you, I have no problem with admitting where I have ignorance.
We must seek truth from facts.
Yeah, exactly. In the top tier, the only person on the what you would call the liberal end of the spectrum was Mehdi Hasan. Everybody else was right wing.
Yeah.
And so by virtue of the size of the audience they reach, they have become the voice of the Gaza. And that's a very strange phenomenon.
Yeah.
The idea that, for example, Megyn Kelly cares about poor brown Muslim children in Gaza, I just find that very peculiar.
Yeah.
And my problem is, you said I have a problem with the right wing. That's not my problem.
I do. I personally abhor reactionary thought.
That people on the left don't see this as somehow strange and problematic.
I also agree with you on that.
There's no raising of eyebrows, like, what quite is going on here?
Yeah.
And then you have to ask yourself, well, what is going on here? And I think there are issues. I would not call them major issues at this point. I think the anti-Semitism is pretty much a marginal phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe, which is within the realm of possibility, I said it before it became a common discussion. I said, if Tucker Carlson wins, if he runs for office, this was before there was any talk about it. I said, but speculating, if he were to run for office, and if he were to run on the real America First, and if he ran with a Thomas Massey or her name just the woman
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah.
And he ran on the platform of, like the Nazis did, that they had a solution to the economic crisis.
Yeah.
If the economy crashed, I think there could be a problem. And I don't see any reason why not to raise that prospect, even though I recognize Right now, it's marginal. I recognize that. And I don't believe, if you look at the history of the Nazi Party, before the 29 crash, it was completely marginal.
Mm-hmm.
It was the crash before they were polling around 3 to 5%. Right after the crash, they polled 18%, then they polled 36%, because it wasn't anti-Semitism that won the Nazis' power. It was they promised they had a solution. So, people like with Trump, let's give him a try. Let's see what he can do, So I believe it could metamorphose into a problem. And I do find it problematic that people on the so-called left don't recognize this as, at the very least,
No, I think they do.
an odd. I didn't find that.
No, well, you're at the epicenter of the people who do. But so here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I actually agree with you almost 100% of the way, as far as I've heard you talk about how anti-Semitism historically has been an issue, of course, pogroms, the Holocaust, but then also even in the United States of America, there were systematic forms of discrimination that Jews faced. Anti-Semitism in contemporary American society it happens as on an individual basis, but it's not. There's no systemic anti-Semitism in the United States of America.
Quite the contrary. On the contrary, if you're applying for a law firm, if you're applying to work in a hospital, if you're applying to teach, the system is rigged in your favor. You apply to a law firm right now, and if you're Jewish, it helps. It's a plus. So if anything, Jews benefit from a privileged position.
Yeah, and Jews are specifically Ashkenazi Jews in America, which is most of the Jewish people in America, are under the banner of white. Like no one. Well,
I think white plus.
Yeah. Well,
if you ask me,
white plus.
It's true. If you go into a job interview, if you walk into a job interview and you're black, okay, you have to prove that you're smart, because the default setting is you're stupid. If you're Jewish,
you're sounding kind of woke here.
No, well, I think that part is true. If you're Jewish and you walk into a job interview, you have to prove you're stupid, because the default setting is you're smart. And you know what? On top of that,
Aiden Ross is doing a good job of changing that.
Most of the time, your interviewers are Jewish. If let's say you're applying for an Ivy League school, your interviewer is going to be quite a significant amount of the time is going to be Jewish, So I recognize that. I think far from being a liability, it's a plus to be Jewish. But on the other hand, everybody walks in with their stereotypes, their prejudices. Yeah. And it may be a plus, but they'll still think you're cheap if you're Jewish. They'll think he's smart, but they'll still think you're cheap. It just has no effect. It has no impact on your life opportunities and chances.
So we largely agree on that. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because
Mr. Piker just agreed Jews are cheap. For those of you,
no. The stereotyping we agree on. I would say that I think that what Tucker is doing is he's one of the most sophisticated propagandists for the white nationalist movement. Mm-hmm. I've been tracking a lot of. I'm one of the people that you would probably consider woke, but I've been tracking his commentary for many years, almost a decade at this point.
Mm-hmm. I have not,
and I'm intimately familiar with the things that he says and how he is capable of channeling white supremacist propaganda, but make it palatable for American audiences, even mainstream audiences, as he did for years and years at Fox News. He became a very dangerous propagandist, and he's very good at what he does. One thing that I've always found very strange about American fascists is the fact that they actually demonstrate the exact ethnic chauvinism and tribalism that they oppose in Israel when they almost offer some of the most scathing, like Nick Fuentes. Are you familiar with Nick Fuentes?
No, yes.
Yes, he's a neo-Nazi, self-avowed neo-Nazi.
Well, it
sometimes he runs
depends
away.
on the day of the week.
Yeah, sometimes he runs away from the moniker, but
and he's just
let's be real.
one of the guys.
Yeah. So his critique of the ethnic chauvinism or Jewish supremacy is scathing because I think he's very familiar with a worldview that he has, which is almost identical. So from my perspective, I see very little daylight. And this is what really frustrates the likes of Jonathan Greenblatt. He is my Alan Dershowitz, if you will, my primary opposition. What is frustrating to me about that is that Jonathan Greenblatt has the exact same odious worldview of supremacy, of extermination, and a defense of extermination.
Right, but he wants to defend the rights of Jews here because here he's a minority. And in Israel, he wants a Jewish supremacist state.
Yeah.
Now, the thing with people like Tucker Carlson, exactly what you just said.
But I think
they criticize Israel for its Jewish supremacy, but they want a white supremacist state here.
They want to do Israel, but for white people. Richard Spencer, another neo-Nazi, once openly admitted this. He said, I like Israel. I don't like Jews. I like Israel.
Yeah.
I want the American Christian whites to have an Israel here in the United States of America. So there's not a lot of daylight between their framework, which I find very odd.
I get them. I get the hypocrisy. And now I'm going to say something which I'm reluctant to say because, I'm an older man and I don't like to get involved in the internet gossip and wars. It doesn't interest me. I'm a reader, and
You don't even have a cell phone.
And I own a cell phone. I've never even used, believe it or not, I've never even used an ATM. And now I'm told ATMs are obsolete, but I never even used it when it existed. Yeah. I never learned to drive. I never had a driver's license, nothing. I thought the end of the 19th century was a great time, and I tried to, as best as I can, stick to the protocols of that era. In any event, so I'm listening to Glenn Greenwald, and he says, my friend Tucker, he's such a unique person because he always admits when he makes mistakes. And why can't we have other people like my friend Tucker, who I happen to have a close relationship with? And he says, what's his example? He says, well, Tucker has now admitted he was wrong about Muslims. And he's now saying that Muslims aren't bad people, and he's wrong. I think to myself, yeah, that's one possibility. The other possibility is, since he's been busy attacking Israel and Jews, he sees a new demographic.
Yeah.
So maybe he's changed his tune, not because Tucker is so wonderful, because he admits to his errors, but he just made a pragmatic choice that, say he runs for president, it wouldn't hurt to have that demographic on his side.
I don't think it wouldn't hurt to also have the credibility, the established credibility as someone who is, on the right side on this moral stain.
Yeah.
Especially because for one reason or another, I think Democrats are still, at least politicians are still very reluctant to speak with clear terms, with absolute conviction on these issues. Sorry, Kai is here. I don't know how you feel about dogs. She's very friendly.
I'm perplexed.
Yeah, she's a little lady. She's tiny. She thinks she's tiny.
Well, I'm glad she's not in the apartment above mine in my building.
Yeah, she'd be stomping around.
Well, no, she wouldn't. It would be me or her.
Okay. Well, in any case, what were we talking about? We were talking about Tucker Carlson. I think he's establishing credibility to either lend it to J.D. Vance, which he is closely aligned with. And J.D. Vance, of course, has been a critic of Benjamin Netanyahu. He went on the Joe Rogan Experience. He talked about the Epstein files. He talked about how, Israel actually plays a major role in American elections and all this stuff. And then a week later, he was smiling next to Benjamin Netanyahu in the White House. So not exactly certain as to how, not exactly certain as to how critical he is of the American-Israeli relationship. But I do think that, yes, these guys are very cynical, and this will be a valuable tool to galvanize the masses in a matter not dissimilar.
I believe it will, assuming that there isn't a crash. But if there's not a crash, it will be a marginal. It's like what they described Hitler's anti-Semitism was an add-on. It appealed to a certain pretty marginal, but a portion of the electorate, and it helped.